So this is the hot tub that we're going to be working on now. It needs a diverter valve replaced right here, and it needs another one that's going to be replaced over there. I'll show you what's happening. When you get down to this, see, this is warped. It's not round. Otherwise, this right here, you could pull it out and put it back down. It does move from left to right. That's not the problem. The problem is we can't get this to go on there, and the threads inside here to seal on the side of the threads right here. So we come down here and we got to dig out this whole area and get in there and make it all clean so that we can replace this diverter valve and move on from there. So anyways, we're going to get to work on that right now. Before I really get into the video, I figured I'd show you what I use to basically get rid of all the foam. I use a file. I've had this file for years. I've showed this in other videos. I'm just using a razor blade. I don't like sharp objects, but like with this one, I do have some of this paper like this that needs to be cut away, and it's got these little strings. So I do need something a little bit sharper just to get rid of all the strings like what's right there. So, and then I use another file similar to this. Hacksaw blade. I really like the end of the hacksaw blade. And then this. I always like this particular Sawzall blade because I like this end right here, and I like this little curved end right there. I really like that because, see, I can take this and it just will clean off all the foam and it'll just scrape it, and that's what I'm trying to do. And it'll just cut it away from there. So you can kind of see the way I do it. So you can kind of see I'm just scraping all that foam right back. What I want to do is I want to get it right back to the tubes. And I'm just going to scrape it all out of there until I've got it all cleaned up. When I'm done, I'll use some spray foam, just spray it right back in there. But I want to get all the foam all the way around there, out of there. So there's nothing hard about doing this. There's the other tube right there. So this is the center tube. This is the right side of the gate valve, and this is the left side. So I'll cut these all the way up here, and then I'll refit them into place. Pretty simple, but it's going to take a little while just to clean up the foam. See? It's not hard to do this. Gravity works. So you can kind of see how I'm doing it, and I'm just going to clean it right back to the tubes. And I like working with this kind of foam, other than the fact that it's static electricity. It'll stick to my hands, but it actually will come off the tubes real easy with the way it was sprayed. And also when I go to glue it, it glues better also. So anyways, I'm going to get back to work, and we're going to get all this cleaned up, and I'll come back and I'll show you after I got it all cleaned up what it looks like. So you got kind of the gist of how I do this. You know, this ain't rocket science. Anybody can do this. See where all the rodents have been down here. I'll fill up all that stuff too. But yeah, I have a feeling that what it is you got the pump and motor over here, water comes out here, and I think that tube goes there and then comes up. So that'll be a pretty easy fix because this is flex, that's flex also. So it'll be pretty simple to fix. So I'm gonna get back to work. I'm starting to get it pretty well cleaned out, but I figured I'd give you guys an update on what I've done. The center tube was right here. It came down like this, went over, and went right in the top side of the pump. So what I did is I actually cut it from right there, and it's an L-shaped piece, and there it is right there. So that was kind of the way it looked. It came from the diverter valve, went down, and then it went like through the gate valve, and then it went down to the top side. So the water actually went this way, because the water always goes to the center. And then what I did is, this is the pump over here. I put a rag inside. There's nothing worse than getting foam inside these tubes and you can't get them out after you glue everything. So I always do that. Now, since I've cut the center tube that goes over there to the pump, I also cut off this tube. And what I did, if you look up here, I took a rag and I stuffed the rag down inside. I don't want any of the foam to get down inside of there. And then, now to get this piece, I'm going to start cannibalizing this and just start cutting it off in pieces. But I went ahead and I cut the spot where the tube was, which is right there. You can kind of see the tubing. And then I cut this. Next, I'll go ahead and I'll cut this one right here, and then I'll cut it right there. And that way I'm making this diverter smaller. and then I'll pull it out of there, and then I'll go ahead and clean up all the foam around here, put the new diverter in there, and then I'll start gluing it back in place. This is not a hard job. Just takes time. Anybody can do this. So, okay, so next we're going to cut this one out of there. So this piece was getting in my way to cut this the way I wanted to cut it. Just can't get the angle I want. Or maybe I've already cut it. Yeah, I'm pretty well cut through it. Stuff. So anyways, that's kind of how I do it. Yeah, we're getting there, little by little. I now have the entire diverter valve removed from this area. And again, I put a rag inside this tube. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna clean up all the foam in the entire area. There's a nut down here that I need to pull out. I need to slide that out and then put the new diverter in there and then start gluing it back together. So as you can see, it's not a hard job. It's kind of a messy job, but it's not hard. I've now cut these back down here because these are really stiff, and newer tubing will make it a little bit more pliable for me to get them up in there. So anyways, this one will go off to the left, this one goes to the right, and then we'll put the last piece in that'll come up and go up to the center piece. Not too hard, so we'll go ahead and we'll glue in these two couplings first. Like always, before you start gluing anything together, figure out how you're going to put it together. Here's our diverter valve. You got one piece on the right, one piece on the left. This piece I spilled a whole bunch of primer on it in my box. Then I need a coupler here and a coupler here. Now these two couplers are going to hook to here and here. Once I get all that up into place, then I'll hook up the what do you call it, the connector to the pump, which goes to the gate valve, which will come around, and then I'll put in all that at the end. So that's where I'm going to start. Now with the diverter valve, there's only one way these diverters go together. You don't ever, you got the O-rings. This means it's at the top. It's got all the threads. You don't ever want to get any PVC cement or any kind of primer in there. Now, if you look down inside of there, it should be right about there. If you look down where my finger is, hopefully you guys can see it and stuff. That's what causes the gate valve to stop. So it doesn't matter if we put it like this or if we put it like that. It absolutely means nothing other than this part goes up. This goes to the left, this goes to the right, and your water comes in through the bottom. Pretty simple. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and glue all this stuff together. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and primer these tubes first. And you don't have to be chintzy with the primer, just, you know, get it on there. Get it all the way around. Do a good job. Because the primer, it takes about a minute or so for the primer to start setting up and get real tacky. And when you put the PVC cement all together with it, man, does this stuff do a good job. Now I'm just pulling it back to make sure I can get it behind there. And you can actually see every place it goes with this foam, because it just, you know, it turns purple, of course. Make sure you do a good job. Now I scraped this really good with my file to make sure I got rid of every little contaminants. And then we'll go ahead and glue it all together. Okay. We got the first two fittings done. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to glue the fittings into the diverter valve and get that up and going. I now have both of the fittings, the left one and the right one, all glued in. I have the two couplings glued in right there. Now I'm going to take this, I'm going to slide it up inside the hole, and I'll hook it up. Show you how I'm going to hook it up. I'm not going to put any of the guts in there, but I'm going to slide it up, and then I'll put the cap on it. Put that right there. And I've got the cap holding it in place. So that's how it looks from here. We'll have one piece that'll go up to here, one that'll go right here, and then this one will come down, go over, and hook up to right there. Pretty simple. Okay, once you get this piece glued in place, what I've been doing is I've been heating this up with a heat gun. And the reason why is I need to get it into that hole. I need to get it from here to here. So if you bend this, you know, if you heat it up with a heat gun, this will take 10 or 15 minutes. Put it in the bottom and just heat it up. You want to get it real pliable to where it bends real easy. So sometimes this will take 5-10 minutes. Same thing, make sure you get it inside of there so that moves a little bit. So it doesn't take long, but you just definitely want to make it to where you can bend this tubing. Heating up this 2-inch piece of tubing is a huge pro tip. A lot of guys that work on hot tubs will not show you this, because if you don't heat it up, this is the mother of all mothers. It is tough to get in there. You need that tube to be real pliable so that you can bend it, and then it goes right back into shape and it stays in the hole. So this is a huge pro tip. Okay, I got this one in there, and you can see it's still pliable. I can still turn it and stuff. So anyways, you get that approximately where you need it, and then we'll go ahead and put up this piece next. I apologize to you, everybody. My battery went dead in my camera, so I couldn't show you how I did this one and this one. But anyways, if you guys have watched any of my videos, it's not that hard. You know, I just showed you a different way today. Showed you a pro tip that a lot of us spa techs use, where we heat it up with a heat gun. Now this time I did this one first, and then this one, and then I did the center one last. Other times I've done this one first. I'm gonna do one more behind me. I've got a Jacuzzi. It's a J345, and I'll show you that I've ripped the diverter valve out of that one. That's the old diverter valve right there. So I'm gonna go put a brand new diverter valve in that one. So I'm not sure how I'm gonna do that one. I haven't even cut off the tubes yet, but I'm just showing you different ways to do diverter valves. No two hot tubs are gonna be the same. So the one we're working on is what they call a Coleman spa, and it has Balboa equipment in it. Now this one over here is a Jacuzzi, and they're just different. Every hot tub I do is different. Even though they might all be Jacuzzis, they might be Colemans, they might be Cal Spas, LA Spa, Diamondback, Tuff Spa, Sea Breeze, you know, anything, Sundance. You know, all the diverter valves are pretty much the same. How you go about putting them in is all up to you. I'm just showing you several different ways that I go about getting them in. So anyways, this one is pretty much done. I'll let it set up here. I'm not gonna put any water in it yet, and I won't put the guts into the diverter yet. But this one's pretty much done. I still need to put the gasket underneath here. I just got the union screwed to the pump just to let it set up and in place. But we're gonna move on to the one behind me right now.